Welcome to Straight from the Source. This week our guest is not a politician.
I'm
Dave
not a politician.
Kelly.
I am not a politician.
Okay, so Dave, you're with the Orland Volunteer Fire Department right now,
Yes.
and that is just one of the many things you've done in terms of keeping our community safe. But I say not a politician because you know that June primary is coming up.
Yes.
So all of our podcast guests lately have been talking about why they're running for office. You're not running for anything,
Nope, I'm
right?
not running for anything, and I'm really glad to be able to change it up for you.
You might be able to get elected, though. You've got such a resume.
Yeah, I got a little bit. I've been around.
Have you ever thought about running for some sort of public safety office?
Not a public safety office. I actually sit on the Orland Public Safety Commission.
There you go.
So I do a little bit of political stuff, but I prefer to stay out of politics, quite honestly.
Okay,
and probably because
yeah.
I'm too opinionated.
Well,
So-
and well, then stay out of the media too, right? Journalists are not allowed to have opinions about anything,
Yeah,
right? We have
yeah.
to stay completely open-minded, and honestly, it's helped me keep friendships, right?
That's good.
Yeah, if you have too strong of an opinion, you just start fighting with people.
Well, I've seen that, and I've seen businesses end up failing because the business owner wanted to go political, and it's like you're going to offend somebody. Just
Isn't
the
that
best
crazy?
thing to do is
Right.
stay off the politics.
Yeah, I mean, wasn't that like always the expression, right? The things you don't discuss at the dinner table if you want to keep your friends, like what, religion, money, and politics.
Yes,
yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, okay, so today let's just talk about, for one thing, about you and about public safety and kind of what got you started in this career field.
So back in 1983, the year I graduated, it was January, and a gentleman that many people will know, named Mike Maloney,
Oh, we know
who
Mike.
actually is one of my best friends to this day, came to the high school to start a cadet program when he was a deputy for Glenn County.
Okay.
And so that got my start in public service at the age of 18.
Okay.
And I did the cadet program for a little over a year, I believe, and was approached about being a reserve for the sheriff's office in Glenn County. So I went through the reserve program out at Butte.
Okay.
And worked for Glenn County Sheriff's Office as a reserve, not paid.
Okay.
And about that same time I became a reserve, Mike came to Chico. And I went over and rode with Mike one night.
Like
And
a ride-along?
Ride-along,
On-
yes.
okay.
I did a ride-along
Yeah.
when he was on patrol as a patrol officer, just off his training program. And I was like, I need to come over here. This is a little bit different atmosphere at the time. And my night on the streets were the 1987 riots.
Oh my gosh.
So I got exposed quickly, and I stayed at Chico PD for about 10 years.
So then I was 2 years old at the time, to give away my age.
Yeah.
So I remember hearing about that more like in an urban impacted area.
Mm-hmm.
What were we seeing here?
As far as
Tell me more about the riots.
so the
Maybe I'm thinking
1987
about
riots
something else.
is the
Not
same
Rod-
year. No,
that was the 90s.
No, this was Playboy
Yeah.
makes Chico State the number 1 or 2 party school in the United States.
I see.
I believe it was
I
the same
see.
around the same
Okay.
time, and the Chico State students at the time tried to prove that, and
No.
it was very educational for me. I learned a lot about people. I learned a lot about crowd mentality.
Yeah.
I learned about restraint. And learned that when you get a person away from their crowd mentality, they turn back to their normal person again.
Right.
It was an interesting time of life.
Isn't that crazy? We're just animals to a certain extent, right? The
when
way that you behave
when you
in a
get
group.
when you get in a crowd of people
Yeah.
and hey, let's turn a car over,
Right.
and you turn a car over and then you burn it, which actually happened I think in the '91 riots that I actually was a part of also.
Wait, is this the Rodney King or is this another
Nope,
Playboy
this is
Chico State?
another Chico State Pioneer
Shouldn't laugh.
Days
Okay.
thing. And actually, I believe a news anchor's car got turned over and burned.
Oh, wow.
And I remember him coming on the air. He was really upset. And so it was, like I said again, it was a very interesting learning time about people.
Yeah.
And what people could do and crowd mentality.
Right.
It's
And that's something that you still see, even just like when you think about sports teams or political parties, it's like we could have a certain feeling like 49ers are the best team in the world, but it doesn't have to mean anything except for, oh, that's how I feel and I'm passionate about it. But when you have a group together,
Yes.
and then you're rallying, it's just like something about that group mentality heightens emotions and gets
Exactly.
people riled up.
People will do things that they normally wouldn't do in a group
Yeah.
setting.
So how do you, as a law enforcement officer responding to a situation like that, what goes on in your mind in terms of like de-escalation?
Well, I honestly can't speak to it, how they do it now.
Right.
Back in 1991, I was there until 97. The thing was always, first of all, be safe, and you tried to listen to what people were saying.
Yeah.
But when you were going into a situation like that where there was already bottles being thrown and cars being turned over and burned and things like that, you definitely have a hyped up mentality.
Right.
But you need to have some literally physical restraint to do the right thing.
Sure.
To not violate somebody's rights.
Yeah.
And so, it was a very interesting time of life, and I learned a lot from it.
Yeah, okay. And all of this that was going on, the riots, was it basically just like, hey, Chico State was getting national recognition for this thing, and then police felt like they had to crack down, and then everybody was fighting back? Or
no,
what,
it was,
what were they rioting
and again, this is my opinion. This
Yeah,
isn't
yeah.
the opinion of Chico PD.
Okay.
It's been a few years since I've been there. But
Yeah.
at that time, what was happening is they were having big house parties.
Yeah.
And these big house parties would swell into the streets.
Right.
And the best example I can use is Fifth and Ivy. What started, I think, the police response to that one is there was a medical, and the crowd was rocking the ambulance back and forth as they were coming in. And
Wow.
at that point, I believe, and you got to remember, I was a rookie police officer at the time, but the people obviously above me, we can't do that. It had to be dealt with.
Yeah.
And I can tell you right now, when I was there, both years that this happened, the crowd was told to disperse multiple times.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like they didn't know something was coming.
Right.
And again, crowd mentality, you think you're going to do something you probably shouldn't be doing just because everybody else is doing it. So.
Yeah, it's interesting how much that's changed, but it took time, right? Because you're talking about late 80s, early 90s. So I actually went to Chico State, started out in '03. And I had very strict parents, and I actually wanted to go there specifically because it was rated in Playboy's #3 that year as like biggest party schools. And I wanted that experience,
Yes.
right? And I definitely felt like I got it because that was back when they still had like the beer can beach, Labor Day float, and Fifth and Ivy was still kind of crazy. You had Chico PD patrolling on horseback back then.
Yeah.
But I never saw it get to the point of like what you're talking about. And I think that right around my era was like the beginning of the end.
Yes.
Like
Yeah.
I don't know why it took 20 years
Well,
from when
from
another
start to
decade.
finish, I honestly think the higher ups at Chico Police Department realized what they needed to do, bringing horses in, calling for some kind of mutual aid from other departments, things like that, and not letting these things swell into, you know, they basically closed down, they didn't, but Chico State closed down Pioneer Days, which was a big help. And then Halloween used to be a big one.
Right.
The same thing, our goal back in the day was to keep the people from swelling into Main as Broadway usually, but Broadway would swell where there's people completely covered, you know, walking down Broadway. They've done a lot to keep that from happening again.
It
So,
seems like
a lot
you
of
don't
education.
see in the downtown area, you don't see the college kids hang out there. Like they hang out in the college zone. I don't know if the homelessness issue has been a part of that.
Like again, I'm not going to address
That's an
that because
opinion.
that's definitely opinion. I don't live in Chico, so.
Okay. So while you are not still in law enforcement specifically, you do teach a little bit, right? Or you have recently?
Not recently. I used to do the public safety presentations for PG&E from about 1987 to the early 2000s.
Yeah.
And I used to teach from preschool kids, and I used to teach at the Butte Police and Fire Academies.
Okay.
And until PG&E went a different direction with their program. So
Tell me about, that's kind of a little bit different, we'll go on a different path here. Working for PG&E, exactly what you do, and because I know that's in the safety realm too.
Oh yeah, well, so my last 10 years or so, I was a crew foreman, either acting crew foreman or that's the job title that I held. And the bottom line is safety first, no matter what.
Yeah.
I'm never want to put my crew in danger. I never want to put the public in danger, anything like that. And so safety has always been a big deal to me.
Yeah.
It's been a real big deal.
So what exactly was the job that you were tasked with? What was the day in the life of your job for PG&E?
So I retired as an electric crew foreman. So I would take a crew, a normal day would be 2 or 3 guys, and we'd go, depending on if we're doing maintenance, if we're doing new business where somebody's building a house and we're putting power to it, or the thing that I used to like is I loved emergency response. That when you're getting people's power back on, it's a weird lineman thing, I guess.
Yeah.
But that's the thing, get the power back on, get people back in power, because I'm sure you can tell me that it's no fun when the power's out, right?
Oh, yeah.
And so that was a lot of my job. I used to work a lot of nights and weekends and holidays, and didn't bother me a bit when I retired, but I loved my career. And we talked a little bit off camera about passion, about being passionate about your job.
Yeah.
And I definitely enjoyed my time as a lineman.
Yeah. I've been to that Lineman College rodeo, that they have there in Oroville, right? And it's pretty impressive. And it looks pretty dangerous, just not even like thinking about the fact that you're working with high voltage electricity here, but even just the height itself, right? I mean, you must go through so much training to be a lineman.
Well, the apprenticeship when I was a apprentice, started as an apprentice, was a 3-year program. Now I believe it's at least a 4-year program. I actually have a son-in-law that topped out as a lineman about 1.5 years, 2 years ago. And it changed a lot, but it's still the same work.
Yeah.
A lot of the same work.
So I've got to ask you, because this is the kind of job that, like, I have a 20-year-old stepson, and he's kind of trying to figure out, he's thinking maybe go into fire academy next fall. He's not sure, but I've kind of pushed, like, well, think about the kind of jobs that AI can't do. And I would say, from what I would think, that a lineman is something that we don't have robots that can do those jobs yet. Like, there aren't drones that can really do that hands-on work, right?
No, they use drones for some of their inspections and things like that, but there is nobody that can do lineman work but a lineman.
Yeah.
And again, if you're passionate about it, it's work. Don't get me wrong; it's really hard work.
Sure.
It's physically demanding. It's hard on your body, but it's a great job.
Yeah, but I mean, okay, so it's so funny when you talk about these jobs that are like physical and tough, and it's like that sounds like a downside. But I mean, somebody who has a desk job will sit there for 8 hours a day just waiting to go to the gym so they can go to CrossFit and work their bodies out. It's like, why not get paid to get that workout, right?
Yeah, that's funny you should say that. I was offered recently a job where I would sit at a desk and look at inspection photos of poles, wires, things like that for the utility. And the gentleman offered me the job, and I said, I really appreciate the offer. It meant a lot to me.
Yeah.
But there's no way I can sit at a desk for 8 hours a day.
Yeah.
I'm just not wired that way. Some people are,
Yeah.
but most of the guys that I've worked with over the years are not wired that way.
Yeah, it's tough.
Yeah.
I have a standing desk with a walking pad under it, and I'm still trying to find excuses to run out the door and be a reporter again because there's something about interacting with real humans in real life and being out in nature.
Yeah. And life on the cruise is I've had some of my best friends I worked with.
Right.
And some of the fun that we had, working 24, 36 hours back in the day. And you got to be real close with people, and you used to have a lot of fun. It was still work, don't get me wrong, but it was a very enjoyable experience.
Yeah. I feel like that should be what our jobs are, right? Like, as we were talking about before, it's our other family, right? We have our home life, and then we spend 40 plus hours a week with this group of people, and on a mission to do something. And sure, that mission is generally make money for a company, right?
Yeah.
But in order for us to do that and feel good about our lives, I mean, it's so key to have good relationships with the people there and a good sense of purpose in what you do.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. A friend of mine used to joke, we were together, we worked together for years, but we were together, during some of the storms back in the day, like in Paradise and places like that, where we'd be out for 7 to 10 days straight.
Yeah.
We might go home for 4 or 5 hours, get some sleep, and come back. But we were together more than he and his wife were. It used to be kind of a joke.
Yeah, yeah, that's your work wife or work husband, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. So speaking of Paradise, that town has had a major project. Well, a lot of things. I was going to first talk about the underground lines. Were you with PG&E as that kind of started to roll out with the undergrounding of lines?
So my last year before I retired, I retired in 2020, beginning of 2020, and I believe the fire was in November of 2018. And personally, I worked on the project. I was in Concal, then ended up in Paradise. But I think it was 56 days that I personally worked on it, straight, except for one day, the first day it poured rain. I took that day off. But other than that, my whole work group and all the locals and all the people that they brought in worked a good 2 months on that.
Okay.
And it was a lot, but the driving issue or the force behind that, same thing, is get people that were still there back in power.
Right.
If I can expand on that a little bit, 2 worst days of my life was the day they let the people back into Concal and we were working there, and the day they let people, because I was over in Paradise after that, working in Paradise, the day they let the folks back into Paradise, and it was one of the ugliest things I've ever seen as far as people's raw emotions and what they found and what they saw. It was not a good feeling. Yeah,
no, I can imagine, and I can't imagine. Like I was as a reporter on the streets during that time, and I had so many family members and friends who lived in Paradise, and they were calling me to say, hey, you've got your media pass before they even knew what happened.
Yeah.
Like, can you see if my home's still there? And I would try to help people out when I could, but it was like this feeling of dread, like, great, I have to be the one to tell you. And, but you had this whole other layer on top of it too, right? Because I'm always curious what this experience was like for PG&E workers, right? Because suddenly PG&E is public enemy number one.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
And
people hated us.
Yeah.
Absolutely hated us. And I'll never forget, we were getting some people back in power in Comcast sitting up on top of a hill, and this gal came by and started just screaming at me. And I'm on the radio trying to get people back in power, and just screaming at me. And the only thing, I rolled up my window because I didn't want the confrontation. I understood why. It still doesn't feel good.
Yeah.
But the only thing I could think is, I'm not the one that started the fire.
Right.
I didn't do it. I'm here to help.
Right.
Which is a lot of what I've done in life. I want to help.
Right.
So, but,
Yeah.
I get it. Don't get me
Right.
wrong. That's devastating. I can't imagine. And how widespread that was and how many lives that impacted, just incredible,
Yeah.
just sad.
It's interesting, like, how no matter what we do with our lives, right, if we're associated with a company or whatever, I mean, it's like guilt by association, theoretically. It's something I know that a lot of us who work here at Action News Now, we are just like people who live in Butte County or some of us Shasta County, Tehama County, and we have this like passion for, hey, we want to be the watchdogs, right?
Yeah.
We want to find out the truth. We want to give our viewers, we want to cover what matters to them. But, we're an affiliate of these networks, and we're in a phase of distrust, and there definitely have, you look at who owns the media groups or whatever, and so, it's heartbreaking for me when I have a young reporter call me, maybe crying, saying, hey, I was just trying to do a live report, and someone's screaming at me, expletives, calling me fake news, calling me a liar, and I think it's one of those things that you just have to kind of steel your nerves and do your best every day and understand it's not personal. It's somebody else having an emotional breakdown. It's larger than me, but still, it hurts.
It hurts. No, it never felt good. I mean, the whole thing never felt good. I mean, after I retired, I was back up there working again as a contractor, and the same thing. And it's like, we're trying to help, but I'm not making excuses for whatever happened.
Sure.
There's a lot of ideas on what really happened, but I wanted to help. I want to get you back in power. I want to get the power back to the places that didn't have power. I wanted to build for the future in Paradise. That was my personal thing.
Sure.
And back to the same thing. That's what I'm passionate about. Just like you're passionate about letting people hear the truth and getting the word out. It's very similar.
Yeah. So speaking of undergrounding the lines, and I have to ask you, like, it seems like the greatest thing ever, right? And I'm so glad that we're doing this for, especially in the high wildfire risk areas. I hate to pay for more stuff.
Yeah.
But do you think that like this is how it should be done from here on out?
Undergrounding is super expensive.
Yeah.
And it doesn't last as long, and it's harder to find the
Oh,
problems.
it doesn't last as long.
No, it doesn't last as
What
long as
happens
ever. Just like anything, over years it deteriorates.
Okay.
Now,
And
whether
you
it's
can't
5 years
fix it as
or
easily,
50
huh?
years, we don't know. But it's not as easily fixed.
Yeah.
It's not as easily recognized as when there's problems, and it's super expensive.
Yeah.
And so one of the ways they're doing a lot of undergrounding.
Yeah.
And again, I'm speaking for myself. I'm not speaking
Sure.
for PG&E, but they're doing a lot of undergrounding. And they underground Paradise. They're undergrounding. I know they've undergrounded some stuff up in Cohasset. Over on the west side of the river, there's some places that they've done a lot of undergrounding. Up in Redding, same thing. And it will help, but it's still, there's so much overhead.
Yeah.
And the bottom line is, people want their power.
Right. Yeah.
And I will tell you a little bit of a story that I think is okay. The morning before the campfire, people were really upset that the power was going to get taken off.
Oh, right.
Because it was a PSPS event.
Yeah.
And so,
I know it.
flash forward 2 hours and the whole world's burning down.
Yeah.
And the PSPS event, I don't think would have affected it anyway, but
Right.
but that's from what I understand.
It's
But
it's tough.
It's a hard place to be.
There are no easy answers in
No,
this life.
well, no, not at all.
Yeah.
You want the power. You want that light to go on when you flip the switch.
Yeah.
But you certainly don't want to burn down a town.
Right.
So honestly, I think for the most part, everybody does their best.
Yeah.
They're back to kind of
Yeah,
what we talked about.
people are trying.
They're trying.
Yep. Okay, so let's talk about Orland.
You want to talk about Orland?
Yeah.
I got lots to say about Orland.
Volunteer firefighter. I mean, it always blows my mind how good people are, right? I feel like I'm so busy with work, and then I get home and it's like the kids need something, or the husband, or the dogs, or the cats, or the yard, or whatever it is. And people who volunteer to have that phone ring in the middle of the night or rush out, what inspired you to get involved?
So obviously, I got the public service bug, like I talked about, as a reserve police officer. I took about, I think, 3 or 4 years off, and I had moved to Durham. We put our daughter in school, and I made a deal with my ex-wife at we would do some house stuff around the houses, and then I could volunteer as a firefighter.
Okay.
And so that took about a year to get this stuff going. And as soon as everything was in place as far as the remodel, I went down to the Durham station and talked to Chris Hale.
Okay.
Actually, I saw him on a call
Okay.
right by the house. And I go, hey, how do you be a volunteer? And hey, go down to the firehouse or go down to the fire station. And that started my whole my volunteer fire thing.
Yeah.
And it's kind of weird to go from being a cop to being a firefighter.
Right.
They're two different worlds, yet same goal.
Yeah.
You're helping people.
Okay.
And go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, what qualifications do you have to do a course or something
Oh yeah,
first?
at that time, and I think it's a little more intense now.
Yeah.
Obviously, you have to take some medical stuff, first aid, CPR, AED stuff.
Do you need that as a police officer too, or not really?
Most,
of it you do.
as far as I know, the ones that I've talked to, because we have a few police officers in the fire department.
Sure.
That they have to have CPR and AED and first aid. So most of them have it when they get there. Now, whether you choose to learn more is up to each individual firefighter, but they have the basics.
Okay.
But back to Durham, I went out to spend a lot of time at Butte College.
Yeah.
A guy named John Hawkins, a great firefighter, and I think he's moved down south years ago, but incredible instructor. I remember him especially. But went out there and spent a lot of weekends out there in basically it was a volunteer firefighter class.
Yeah.
Burn buildings, wildland, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Extrication classes. I got all these certificates, from Butte County,
Right.
doing all the different stuff. But they're really good about training their people.
Yeah. Okay.
But it took a little while to get. I just wanted to go to calls.
Yeah.
And to this day, I just want to go to calls. That's
Right,
what I still,
You have a
20,
bug.
20, 24 years later,
Yeah.
I still just want to go
Yeah.
to calls.
It's just that drive to adrenaline, helping people.
Exactly. You get all of it.
Yeah.
You get the dirt too,
Yeah.
but don't get me wrong, it outweighs it. Obviously, I've been doing it for a while, so.
Right. And there's something about firefighting versus so police, I think that there's a huge swath of our community that just is so grateful for our law enforcement officers, right? But then there is, especially ever since the whole George Floyd thing in 2020, but really historically way longer than that, there's that fear and distrust of people in that position of power. But it doesn't seem like firefighters ever get that, right? Because
they don't get it near as bad.
Yeah.
And it's like any public agency, government agency, 99% of the guys are great.
sure.
1%'s bad, but obviously the police officers, the bad there gets exposed a lot more than necessarily the firefighters.
Yeah.
I remember it was a YouTube or something video came out of some guys that were shopping in Orville.
Okay.
Happened to know at least one of them.
Yeah.
And this guy was just reaming him. It's like, I guess here's my message. If you don't understand, ask.
Sure.
If you have a problem with Orland Fire Department, come talk to us.
Yeah.
And I'm sure Chico Fire, Butte County Fire, they all feel the same way.
Yeah.
If you have a problem, come ask, and maybe we can explain why. Just like, I think it was Bo, who was trying to explain to this gentleman up in Orville years ago why they were getting their food so they could eat.
Yeah.
And, he didn't want nothing to do with it. And if people aren't going to go back and forth as far as listening before they speak and actually hearing, then they're not going to understand.
Wait, so the guy had a problem with firefighters stopping to get food?
They called it subsistence at Butte County back in the day. They were going to the store to get subsistence, which is their meals for, I think at that time they worked 3 days, 3 24s, and sorry, you got to eat.
Right.
And
he didn't understand you should be saving lives right now.
And
not
if
eating.
it was like it used to be back in Butte County, they had an engine go cover that station while they went.
Right.
And so it just didn't make sense. Why are you going after the firefighters here?
Yeah.
And like I said, I knew at least one of them, maybe two of them. They're good guys.
Right.
They're just doing their job.
Right.
But they're going to be the first ones you call if your house is on fire.
Oh gosh. So.
And you want them to be nourished. You want them to be able to eat.
Yes, I would agree with that. So it's so funny I think a lot of people have this insecurity about when do I call for help or not, right? So there was this one incident where I was home and I smelt in my laundry room. I was like, I smelled something electrical, smoky, bad, right? And the dryer was running. I opened up the dryer and some smoke came out. So my husband wasn't home. Not like I can't make decisions without my husband, but he's my guy.
No,
he's the guy I call, and
you work together.
He's in construction, and he's my partner.
Exactly.
So I called him. I was like, "What do you want me to do here? Like, I don't think there's a fire, but there's smoke coming out. Should I just call the fire department?" And he was like, no, don't bother them over that sort of thing. Just unplug the dryer and monitor it and just hang out. Don't go run your errands. Just sit. Don't bug them over this. I texted the fire chief later.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, you should have called me. We have heat sensing tools.
Yep,
We're not
exactly.
going to axe down your door for something like that. No, but then fast forward to recently, my 20-pound indoor cat got out, and overnight he scaled this giant redwood tree in my backyard. He was like freaking 80 feet up or something.
Yes.
He hadn't come down, and it had been like 16 hours. And then I texted the fire department, and I was like, can you guys please help me, like do some and they were like, put a can of food.
Exactly.
No. And I'm like,
have you ever seen a cat skeleton in a tree?
that's what they said. But I was like, I made my husband put the ladder up, and he went and got him out of the tree.
So I've done this before. I actually did it through PG&E one time.
Okay.
I've done raccoons, but one of them was a cat.
Yeah.
And they're mean.
Yeah.
They do not like being cornered. I mean, I had gloves on, a big old thick jacket, and I had to stick it in a bag to get it down, or it would have attacked me and fell.
Gosh.
So
Yeah.
it's
That's true, right?
But I kind of agree with Fire Chief. It's probably best that they just find their way down when they won't get hungry.
Fault.
It is Hollywood's fault. Yes. Very similar.
Okay, so you were in Durham, right? And that's where you begun as your time as a volunteer.
I did about 10 years there.
How'd you make your way to Orland?
Well, that's kind of funny. So when my daughter graduated high school, I moved to Orland.
Okay.
That was always my plan. But a good friend of mine was in the fire department at the time, and so I got to see Orland. And mind you, my dad was in the fire department in Orland back in the 60s, so it was always kind of I knew a lot about what happened there. I knew a lot of the old guys. And I just always thought it was cool that it was 100% volunteer.
Yeah.
And going from a volunteer group that's obviously working for and with CAL FIRE to completely doing it yourself. I mean, the decisions that we make are our decisions.
Right.
There's nobody else there's nobody above the chief.
Yeah.
In Orland, So it was interesting to go from that dynamic to Orland. So anyway, I got to see that. And in our bylaws in Orland, there's a spot where if you work there, you can join.
Okay.
But at that time, there's a certain percentage that they wanted you to make. Well, my mom lived there at the time, so I'd go stay there a couple nights a week and make calls in Orland, and I did that for the 3 years until my daughter graduated high school.
Okay.
And then so I literally was in Durham and Orland for 3 years.
Yeah.
I did both departments.
Oh my gosh.
So anyway, I did, and then in 2012 sold my house in Durham and moved to Orland permanently.
And aside from having the family connection to Orland Fire, what else about that community do you love? What brought you there?
The one thing I can say about Orland is they really support their volunteers.
Yeah.
It is really incredible to see. I don't know if you want to get into this or not, but I'm going to launch into this because I really want people to know this. Orland Volunteer Fire Department is 3 departments. There's Orland Rural, which is obviously the outskirts of Orland that's in our jurisdiction. There's Orland City, which is obviously the city of Orland, but they're the Orland Volunteers, and we're a nonprofit.
Okay.
And one of the things that we have to do yearly is go door to door. And for lack of a better term, I heard this one time and I laughed because I thought there's some truth to it. We go strong arm the community for cash.
Right.
And well, why do you need that? You have the city's tax and you have the rural's tax. Well, here's an example. This shirt. I bought this shirt.
Okay.
I bought it.
Yeah.
And one of the ways that we're able to do that is we go out and do a door-to-door once a year in March for the Fireman's Ball to raise funds.
Right.
The city and the county or rural area, they don't buy this stuff for us. There's a lot of stuff that we have to purchase ourselves.
Right.
So our uniform shirt, pants, boots, things like that, we buy ourselves.
Yeah.
So people don't understand, well, I pay taxes when we go knock on their door. It's like, you do, but you're paying the tax for that rural fire engine they had to buy because it was 10, 15 years old, things like that.
Yeah.
And so
it's just not enough.
No, it's that's one
Yeah.
thing. Doing.
Yeah. Everything is more expensive and more expensive, and salaries are not going up to match it.
No.
And it seems like
No.
this whole how do we pay for stuff problem
Yeah.
is without, new taxes and without raising property I mean, it's a dilemma.
This is one of the ways that you see how supportive Orland is of the volunteer fire department.
Yeah.
Measure A, I think, I don't know exactly what year, it's like 7 or 8 year old, that there was a percent tax in Orland for the city, and then the rural hadn't had any kind of tax increase since 1991. And the community supported it overwhelmingly, the rural district supported it overwhelmingly last year, that it's a way that we could keep up with inflation.
Yeah.
And that's one way we know we are supported. And we rarely get bad press, quite honestly. But at the same time, my opinion, we do a really good job.
Yeah.
We really work hard to do a good job. We train hard. We try to get good equipment. We fundraise, things like that, to make it a good department so that people are proud of us in the community.
So is a volunteer firefighter with like Orland Fire always going to be specific to Orland, or like when there's a mutual aid sort of situation, do you ever get deployed to
That's a
wildfire?
great question. We, I'm going to say in the last 5 to 7 years, the chiefs at the time wrote mutual aid agreements. We have a mutual aid agreement with Artois and Willows. And the great thing is when we get dispatched by Glenn County now, we went from Corning Fire to Glenn County so everybody can hear what's going on. And if we get a structure fire in Orland, Artois and Willows and maybe Capay or Hamilton City may get toned out also.
Yeah.
The thing about Glenn County that's just incredible, I think there's 3 paid chiefs total for the whole county.
Yeah.
Everybody else is volunteer. And it is incredible to see. I'll give you an example. 4 or 5 years ago, we had a huge vegetation fire. First time I've ever seen an airdrop in Orland.
Okay.
That's how big this
Yeah,
fire was.
yeah.
And came on the radio and said, we need a countywide all-call. And everybody came, including CAL FIRE. But it was just stepping back and looking at that was incredible to see the teamwork and how willing people were to drop everything they're doing, because we all have jobs.
Yeah.
Everybody that's a volunteer has a job typically, and they drop what they're doing,
Right.
and they came and helped. That's just one call out of the many where we help each other out.
Wow. Okay. So if somebody's listening to this and they're thinking like, I'd like to help, I'd like to be a volunteer, I'm not sure if I'm young enough, strong enough, qualified enough, like what's the first step?
First step is go down to the volunteer fire department and ask.
Yeah.
Different departments have different requirements. Typically, we really wrote it into the bylaws so that we were doing it right. But you come down and you kind of hang out. You come to a couple of our drills. Make sure it's something you really want to do, because it is a bit of a commitment, especially the first year. Like back in Durham, I had to train a lot the first couple of years. Well, it's the same thing for the volunteer departments too. You needed to get some training done.
Right.
And so you come down. In our case, Orland's case, you fill out an application, you turn it in, your name gets read in front of the whole fire department at a meeting. They call you in for a oral interview.
Yeah.
Then you go from the oral. If you get through the oral, you go through a background, and you do a chief's interview, and you're in.
Yeah.
And the cool thing about Orland is, the day you're in, you get a pager and you can come to calls.
Right.
Now, don't get me wrong. Everybody is explained to very well that doesn't mean that you get your hands dirty right away.
Sure.
But you get to see. You get to see what what
Yeah.
you start asking. That's one of the things I tell the guys all the time. Ask questions. Ask them why they did that. Ask them why they did this. And it's kind of a progression that you grow there. You start you get more confident, and you start doing more and more and more things. And as a volunteer firefighter, I never stop learning. I learn stuff all the time, and I enjoy that.
Yeah.
That's part of the fun of it. Is there's always something new. There's always something to learn. A new piece of equipment, things like that.
Right. Do you think that, because I know that firefighters have like probably the highest cancer rate of any industry out there, any professional field. Do you think that like PPE has improved and that the culture around actually wearing it has gotten better?
I think the PPE has improved. I think the culture needs to improve some more. I think we need to wear our breathing apparatuses more, and I'm just as guilty as a lot of people are of it. But you're in the fight, and you don't think about it till you're coughing up black stuff the next morning, that I probably should have kept my pack on a little bit longer, or tried to stay out of the smoke at the vegetation fire, but it's just inherently going to happen. You're going to breathe smoke. You're going to breathe bad things, especially if you're in a position you're trying to help somebody.
Right. What about something I think about sometimes? Like for me, I'm always on call with my position here. Something goes wrong at 2 a.m. Like I'm going to get a phone call. Yeah. And then sometimes it's like you've got a cold and you want to take some NyQuil. And, for me, I'm not a drinker, but I'm assuming that on a Friday night you might want to have a beer or two. Like, how do you decide? Like, you can't take a call, right, if you had anything. And is that something where you just turn the pager off or you just answer and say, sorry, not tonight?
So there's several ways they get a hold of us now. There's a pager. Okay. There's phone apps now where your phone literally will go off and tell you where the call is and things like that. But as far as addressing, if you shouldn't go if you're drinking, bottom line. Right. And quite honestly, back in the day, they did. Yeah. Nowadays, no. It's the one thing I can say about Orland is it's a lot more professional department than it was 50 years ago. Yeah. But those guys built what we have now. Right. But times change. Yeah. You don't drink and go to calls anymore. So we're lucky right now. There's about roughly 40 volunteers, which is actually unheard of. Orland is really blessed to have that many people that want to be involved. Yeah. But you definitely, if you're drinking, you took your NyQuil, you're not going to go. Yeah. Okay. Well, Dave, we're kind of out of time here. Okay. Is there anything else that you want people to know? I would like to hit on real quick. Yeah. What the reason was I thought I was coming here. Oh yeah. Okay. So I was one of the volunteer chiefs for 7 years. I stepped down in December. I got to let some young guys go. One of the things that I took to the chiefs is here's some stuff as a chief that I wasn't able to get to as much as I wanted to as a chief, and I would like to do this. Okay. And the 4 things are a public information officer, a public liaison, the chaplaincy program, and the firefighter wellness program. Okay. And I've already got to see the fruit of the public information officer stuff. That was on me. Yeah. I don't want to be the guy that goes, I don't want to talk to the press. Sure. Because I think it's really important those same people that support us know what's going on so they don't come down that road that the structure fire's on, or the pole that just got hit and the wires are down, so they don't come on that. That's one of my jobs now, is that we try to let the public know what's going on a little quicker than normal. The second thing of that was the public liaison. One of the things that I saw was people in some of their most dire times, especially during a structure fire or a crash, something like that. And we were able to start reaching out to people at structure fires. We started a new handshake with Red Cross. Mara Rouse has just been incredible, kind of implementing all this stuff, and we've already seen how great that interaction's working, where they're able to help people. And there's other things, not just the Red Cross portion of it, but the other things where we can help the people that are going through a tough time. Yeah. And then, of course, the third thing is is the chaplaincy program, which I'm sorry, we see a lot of crap. Yeah. And there's I've seen what can happen as far as alcoholism, drug abuse, depression, anxiety, all these things I've seen happen to firefighters over the years. And it's devastating to see how bad it can actually be. Yeah. And so that firefighter wellness is real important to me. Yeah, yeah. We talked about the PPE. That's the physical aspect, but just the mental and emotional health, taking care of that because of the risk that can have. So that's one of the things as a department we're really trying to lean into that. Okay. And make what's available right now for that? Did you get that established? So it's established. Okay. If you go to the Facebook page, you're going to see my face all over it. Sure. And not because I'm trying to be famous, it's because we're trying to let people know. Yeah. Here's what's going on. Structure fire a couple months ago was one, another where a person hit a pole. That's another one you see. The second thing, the public liaison, there's 2 different people that we helped during structure fires, and they're very appreciative of how we helped them and how we worked with Red Cross. Yeah. And we're able to help them with not just the Red Cross stuff, but some other stuff also. Okay. And the chaplaincy program, we're working on that. And then the firefighter wellness, we had a class, I'm trying to remember the name of it, but basically it was helping us work through what we see. Yeah. And it's just the first step in what we want to push forward. So. And are the volunteers pretty receptive to this, or is it kind of like, they're tough nuts. Yeah. part of the persona of being a firefighter, as you
Right.
know. But when guys, there's some really good guys that listened and heard it, and we're very thankful that we did that.
Yeah.
And that's not the last one. It's the first of many
Yeah.
that we want to start helping, not just in Orland, you know, whoever wants that kind of help. We want to work that direction to help our guys. We want them to mentally be okay too,
Right.
not just physically, because it's you see everything.
Yeah.
I've seen a lot, and I just know that I can't always do that by myself. Sometimes
Sure.
I need to talk about it. Sometimes I need to talk to somebody about it, and not just constantly stuff it.
Yeah.
So
And are these programs paid for by any sort of funding, or is this the door-to-door stuff?
we have money in the training budget for stuff. Mara came over and did the class, the psychological. I'm trying to remember the name of it. Basically, it was kind of a warfare thing, what we go against. But she came over and she did that for free through Red Cross.
Yeah.
That was really cool. The chaplaincy program is very similar to the volunteers. They don't charge us anything.
Right,
They're there.
Yeah.
The PIO stuff, I obviously am a volunteer. I'm doing it for free.
Yeah.
And the community liaison stuff is because I have a heart to help people.
Yeah.
And it's not just me; it's others too. So but financially, there's not a huge cost in that, other than I really want to pump up the firefighter wellness stuff.
Yeah.
And not just for Orland, the whole county.
Yeah.
That's important to me.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right. Dave, thank you so much.
Thank you, Haley.
Yeah.
Appreciate your time.
You too. Thanks for listening today. I decided to offer this podcast after enough of you let me know that you wanted a deeper dive into certain stories than you get on our TV broadcasts. We elect certain people to represent our voice, but who are they really? My hope is that this podcast answers that question. I love your feedback, and I want to know who you'd like to hear from next. Just fill out that comment section and leave us a review on Apple Podcasts, YouTube, or Spotify.